show. The Seahawks beat the Vikings 37-30 in a very, very dramatic, emotional Monday Night Football game. The Seahawks, in case you have been living under a rock, currently sit at number 1 in the NFC West. They are tied at 10-2 with the San Francisco, or I guess I would say the Santa Clara 49ers. But the reason the Seahawks sit at number 1 is because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the 49ers. In case you can't tell by my voice, sorry, go ahead, Nathan.
I feel like if you have the tiebreaker, you're not tied. I think the Seahawks they're just number 1. They're winning the division. The Niners are second place in the division. 5th, they're a wild card team, a lowly wild card team, the Niners.
Yeah, it feels wild. The Niners, I feel like, are one of the best teams in the NFL, and they're the 5th or 6th seed today, which is absolutely wild. So in case you can't tell by my voice, I'm like completely emotionally exhausted after that game. The Seahawks had a 17-point lead, as everybody knows, going into like what I felt like was the end of the third quarter. I don't know. It's a little bit of a memory fog for me. And the Seahawks sort of collapsed a little bit, gave up their 17-point lead, ended up being only a 13-point lead because Dan Bailey kicked it wide left. Vikings kickers have problems with kicking it wide left as it comes, with Seahawks games. So Jeff and Nathan, that was a very long-winded intro, but thank you for joining the show. Jeff, how are you?
I think what you said, I feel emotionally drained. And that was a lot like the Niners game where they should have won the game by double digits in that game too,
Sure.
Especially in this game. And we talked about on Wednesday how good the Vikings were and how good their roster. The Seahawks were the Seahawks showed a lot more dominant qualities than the Vikings did, in my opinion, in that game. And they just kept finding ways to blow it. And like that DK fumble after that crazy fake punt, which was maybe the ballsiest call Pete's made in a long time. I wouldn't have called that there. That was crazy. But the DK play, the McDougal play, there was just so many things. I don't know if you're like over 50, if you're Brian, I guess, how you watch the Seahawks every week. Because I'm like, my heart's pumping every game. This team is such a heart attack. Like, I don't know if you have bad cholesterol or something. I don't know how you watch these guys every week.
Yeah, I wanted to start this off, honestly, and just take the mic for a second and list off several true statements about the Seahawks because they're a very emotionally conflicting team, at least for me. Number 1, the Seahawks are a good football team. True statement. Statement number 2, the Seahawks are an incredibly dumb football team. Also a true statement. Statement number 3, the Seahawks are incredibly stupid. Also a very true statement. And statement number 4, the Seahawks might go to the Super Bowl. Also a possibly true statement. This is a very, very fun, but also draining football team. And maybe I should be used to that because we're, I'm at least more than a decade into Seahawks fandom at this point for my life. But Nathan, how are you feeling about this game? Are you emotionally drained like the rest of us?
No, I'm great. I'm giddy. I actually disagree. I feel like this game felt a lot different than that Niner game. The Niner game was kind of I don't know. When they were up 17, like everything was pretty great and it was a race to the finish. But I'm still kind of riding high on what was a really dominant performance for a while. I thought that Seattle could really easily lose this game. I thought they were actually going to get blown out. I thought there was a good chance of that. It was going the other way for a good chunk of this game. And, kind of unlike the Falcons game or some of these other games where they get a little overly conservative down the stretch, I didn't really think that was the case with them. So, they had they went for it on 4th down with that punt, which was probably just a check more than anything. But so that was all good. I don't know. I loved it. That was a lot of fun. I would have much rather it stayed like 34-17, but it was really entertaining.
Who stood out to you as, who had the most impressive performance in your eyes tonight, Nathan?
That's a good question. Boy, Clowney had a couple real big splash plays.
Mm-hmm.
Russ had a stretch there. His game was kind of all over the place. Like he started out a little rough. It really felt like Seattle was kind of struggling to get a lot of rhythm on offense. It felt like they weren't getting a lot of what they wanted. And then they exploded in that third quarter. So Russ really kind of surged there for a little while, had that bad sack late, which was kind of unfortunate with him just kind of getting tripped up on that guy. But I thought Russell had a pretty good game overall. The offensive line, I think that's really it. Actually, now that I think about it, they were killer for large stretches of this game. Like I can already tell. I already know people are going to get mad at me about this because Penny had a nice game, and I don't really want to take much away from him because he did play well. But he wasn't getting. There was a lot that was blocked up for him. Like he was getting, and Carson too, for that matter. They were getting 3, 4, 5 yards down the field pretty regularly without getting touched. Not every time. They had sometimes where they got caught in the backfield and whatnot, but I thought the offensive line looked pretty dominant for stretches in this too. So, yeah, I mean, there was a good while in this game where it just looked like the Seahawks were just going to run this Vikings team off the field, and that's a good football team on the other side. Like they're without Thielen, but they've been without him kind of off and on for a while this year. They've had a really productive offense. Cousins had been playing kind of out of his mind for a while, and the defense looked pretty good for a stretch. The offense looked pretty good for a stretch. Yeah, there was a lot to. You can kind of take away whatever you want from this game, but I think there was a lot of really strong performances at different points in the game.
Yeah, Jeff, I've got a really good player I want to highlight, but I'm going to let you take the reins first, so don't you dare steal my pick, okay?
Okay, I need to think for a second because Nathan definitely just took mine. I thought Dwayne Brown especially was really, really good tonight. And I just thought the Seahawks run blocking as a whole, the way they use 6 offensive linemen, I thought that was the most physically dominant part of any phase of the game. I guess another player, I know we talked about a little bit, but I thought Rasheem Green played.
God damn it, Jeff! How dare you? How dare you? 2 forced fumbles in the past few weeks has felt like what he's had like 10, 11, 12 pressures over the past 2 weeks. I'm going to let you finish. Sorry, I'm excited.
No, we had a debate on our thread last night when Jacob Martin was flashing in our little chat group, mostly Nathan versus Brian, about who you would rather between Jacob Martin, who had a great game last night, and Rasheem Green. I found it a really interesting debate. They're very different players, but Green, for the second week in a row, had a really good punch out on that Dalvin Cook fumble. That really is kind of what opened the door for the Seahawks in the game. I thought he was just flashing across the line. He made some good run stuffs. I thought Ziggy played pretty well. I thought Ziggy was starting to flash a little more. He wasn't as good as last week, but you're starting to see something there, which is a lot more than what you said. And yeah, I thought DK had a pretty decent game before that fumble, but that fumble was just so bad. He's got a problem.
So how about Travis Homer's first NFL run for 29 yards? How's that for your future starting running back? I'm just kidding. But he had 2 big special teams plays tonight. How do you guys feel like he performed tonight?
I mean, he always looks pretty. He looks like a live body out there. Like when he's returning kicks and stuff, like he's moving. He had that. He had that nice the fake punt or whatever. I mean, he got about 20 yards downfield before he found anybody. But he looks spry. He looks athletic. So I think there's something there that if they end up needing to go to him, I'm going to be kind of interested to see what he's got.
Just as a general heads up for all of you viewers listening in on YouTube, we will be taking a few Q&A questions. So if you guys have any questions in the chat, feel free to tag the Hawk Blogger account. I will see them. And if you feel so generous to donate to us via the YouTube Super Chat, which supports all, the entire platform for the entire show, bringing on guests, stuff like that, that would be super, super awesome. So with that said, how do you guys feel like DK Metcalf performed tonight? It felt like he had several big catches, but now we're entering, and I don't want to focus too much on the negative because there's been a ton of positives coming out of tonight's game, but he did have a big fumble tonight. Nathan, what was your take on that?
I didn't actually think the fumble was that bad. I mean, it was terribly timed, obviously. You never want to fumble, obviously. But it was really bang bang. Like the fact that they called that an incomplete pass was pretty silly, but it wasn't. It was somewhat close, right? I mean, it was close enough to fool the rest for to when it happened live. It didn't look like he was doing anything stupid with the ball, right? Like he's just kind of catching and turning and tucking and gets hit by two guys and it pops out. So if you're just talking about like, are you worried about him fumbling a lot? I mean, clearly I have a different opinion on this than a lot of folks. I don't tend to think that fumbles are I mean, some players have fumble problems. Like Carson obviously fumbles too much, but like a lot of fumbles are luck. Fumble recoveries are a lot of luck. So from that perspective, I'm not too concerned, and otherwise he had a nice game. I mean, this is another game where we saw him do a lot of stuff that wasn't just the go deep and catch be faster than everyone, right? He caught a slant, he caught a couple of screens, right? So I think he's still coming along. I mean, I've cooled on him a little bit from where we were in the middle of the season when he was really taking off. I think there's some legitimate questions about his hands and just how great he can really be. Like, I don't know that he's, I mean, we talk about the athletic potential. Is he Megatron? Is he Julio? What is he? I don't know that he's ever going to get quite there. But I think he, they obviously trust him a lot. They go to him a lot every week. And for the most part, he looks good.
Brian, I want to welcome you to the show since you joined a little bit late. Are you at the game still? Are you in your car? Where are you at and how are you doing?
Hey, boys. I am in the car with a little bit of voice left. Victorious, enjoying myself. I actually attended the game with a good friend of mine who is a 49ers fan. So that was even additional tastiness. It was great. And Brian, I just turned into a bus only lane, which is not intended. I'm in trouble. So Brian,
Brian, how was the atmosphere at tonight's game? You were the only person out of the entire crew that was there.
Oh my God, it was great. It was great. I mean, really great night for Seahawks fans. It was a late arriving crowd, as often can happen in these situations because, people just struggle to get downtown in the traffic. But people brought it, and man, I'm just really interested in hearing from you guys what your impression was of how the Seahawks played tonight. It was a little bit of a confusing game.
Definitely. One super chat question, actually, that is more on the negative side, but I think it's worth discussing. What's happened to Tyler Lockett? He's been absent for a couple of weeks now since that injury in San Francisco. I think it's worth discussing. Is he himself right now? Does he look 100%? Brian, do you have concerns there? Do you think he'll be back to normal next week? Do you think tonight was a fluke? What's your thoughts there?
Well, I think it's a dual question because he clearly, there's no way he's 100% if he's getting targeted 2 times tonight or something along those lines. They would be involving him more. They just would. And so they clearly are still protecting him. And the other side of that question is, can Russell be an MVP level quarterback if Tyler Lockett is not a number one receiver? Because he just hasn't been the last couple of weeks.
Jeff, do you share the same concerns? Where are you at on the Tyler Lockett situation?
Well, it's clearly an issue related to what happened in San Francisco, because since that point, he just doesn't have that explosion, and that's his game. He's got so much quickness when Lockett's on. He was playing at such a high level before whatever happened in San Francisco, whatever happened there. But the last 2 weeks, he just isn't an explosive player, and he looks kind of like he did coming off that injury that one year where we were uncertain what he had left. And he's just not a dominant player. And when you take the number one receiver out of this offense, their passing game has looked challenging to them. Things have gone a lot harder for them to operate. So it was great they had that run game tonight that they could lean on.
Nathan, the famous self-proclaimed realist of the Real Hawk Talk show, where are you on the Tyler Lockett situation?
I don't have a take on this one yet. I need to watch a little bit more. It'll be interesting to see the all 22 and just see what they're doing to him. I mean, bone bruises, like, he got past the compartment syndrome and all that, and that was the really scary thing with his injury. But like, bone bruises will mess you up. That's not a thing that normal humans like just get back out and run around on the field after. So it's certainly possible that he's lost a little bit, and it's going to take him a couple weeks to get back. But I mean, if that's the case, like, holy crap, like, they just kind of ran this Vikings team. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Niners. I mean, I guess he was healthy in that Niners game. But they've gotten through a couple tough games without him being 100%, it seems like. And, and I think by the time playoff rolls around, there shouldn't be too much concern about him being healthy by then.
So we have to address this because millions of people are asking about it in the chat. What are your guys' thoughts on tonight's uniform combo? I know it is not a very X's and O's type nitty-gritty type
Undefeated.
discussion.
Undefeated.
The Seahawks are undefeated in green tops, blue bottoms. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. Every game from this point forward.
Brian, how did those jerseys look in person?
Well, I know they look fantastic on me, so they can only look better on the team. I thought it was great. I'm actually a fan of the full action green uniform. So, yeah, I mean, I thought they looked fine, but I know I'm in a vocal minority on that.
Isn't this the color they did with Mora? I have a vivid memory of Aaron Curry. Like, I think it was before the jersey redesign, but didn't they
exactly?
The action green and the blue pants with Aaron Curry and Mora?
Yes.
Oh, there's a TJ Hushmanzada picture making the rounds. Okay.
So, I mean, I guess with the redesign, you can claim 1-0, but
I don't think they looked as bad as I thought they were going to.
I thought they looked a lot worse.
Really?
Give me the all green. Give me that all the action green. I was keeping an open mind, and man, I thought they looked kind of terrible. I thought they looked bad.
Jeff, what's your take?
What did the announcers say? Was there any conversation from the announcers about it?
I don't think I heard anything. Jeff or Nathan, did you hear anything?
No, really.
Yeah, shockingly, as much as Booger rambled, I didn't really hear him say much about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I try to zone out when those two are talking. But, man, they're bad. But I don't think they said anything, though. I really don't recall.
So, apologies if you guys have already covered this, Evan, but I'm really curious. Like, I don't know if you guys have given out game balls yet or where you thought the MVP was, but like the offensive line, holy shit. I think a lot of people are going to talk about Chris Carson and Rashad Penny because they played well tonight. But I can't tell you how many times I was like, oh man, that's a 1 yard gain. And it was a 3 or a 4 yard gain because the first contact was coming 3 or 4 yards downfield. Like, how in the world did this offensive line just dominate with Linval Joseph, their full defensive front seven? I didn't hear a word about Daniel Hunter all game. Like, am I right? But like that offensive line, is that like the best game they played all season?
It'll be really interesting to go back and see because like they played really, really well. And like there was the one they did a replay of the one play with Dwayne Brown just like turning one of the Vikings defender into dust and putting him on his ass and like, but I think that they blocked it up really, like they schemed it up really, really well. I mean, this will be an interesting one to go and look at just what they were doing because not only were they bullying them around, but it just felt like they had blockers in the right spots at the right angles all the time. So, probably a little bit. I mean, the offensive line played super well. They executed it super well, but it looked like the coaches did a good job of putting them in the right place.
Yeah, I totally agree, Brian. I thought the Vikings defense, like personnel-wise, is so good, and they've been such a dominant unit when the Seahawks have played them before. But there wasn't any point in the game where they looked like a special unit. And I thought the Seahawks offensive line, especially, I thought Dwayne Brown was really good tonight. I thought the 6 offensive linemen. And I don't know if that was their strategy going into the game or it looked like Minnesota was selling out hard to stop the deep pass. other than that one breakdown on the Moore play. So I don't know if that was an adjustment or that was that strategy, but yeah, that was the most dominant part of any portion of the game, the Seahawks offensive line and the run game. Because those guys, the running backs were good tonight. Penny looked, I thought, a lot better just from an overall game usage, but I thought the creases all day were huge. Even at the beginning, even that first drive when they idiotically punted, they were just running down at will almost on that first drive.
Brian,
so if that's the case, go ahead, Evan.
I was just going to say, the guy we actually shouted out earlier that I think you would appreciate hearing is Rasheem Green. He had a forced fumble tonight, several pressures. That's 2 forced fumbles in the past 2 weeks. We're probably looking at 10, 11, or 12 quarterback pressures over the past 2 weeks. He's a guy, who's in the second year of his rookie contract, entered, this squad as somebody who was really, really raw appearing and somebody that we didn't really think could, we could count on year one. And he's turning out to be a solid pass rusher and just defensive line disruptor. Do you feel like he played a good game tonight, Brian?
Yeah, well, he absolutely played a good game by making that play where he forced the fumble. It's really hard. It was really hard to see, and it's typical in a Rasheem Green fashion where he never catches my eye. He's not a twitchy athlete, so he's not beating guys off the ball. He's more of like a power player, and but there's no doubt. I mean, this is the guy that all of us talked about in preseason, even in the off season. Of if there's one guy you could pick to develop and really have a better year, that would be the guy. He's so important to the roster and how they're trying to grow. And it's nothing but good news that he continues to make key plays. I think you could argue that forced fumble was the play of the game. There's a lot of other plays you could maybe pick, but given when it happened and how that game was going, that was just a massive play, and it was not a play that every player makes.
Jeff, I cut you off. I'm sorry. Did you want to continue your thought?
Oh, no, sorry. I started laughing because I saw Dwayne Brown get mad at Warren Sharp on Twitter. And
what did he say?
It's very funny.
What did he say?
So Warren Sharp called out Dwayne Brown on that last Russell sack and said that Dwayne gave up on the play and he started arguing with the ref in the middle of the play to get him sacked. And Dwayne got mad. Dwayne said it's hard to block when your helmet's knocked off your face mask. This isn't what you do. At me next time, Geraldo.
I
don't know.
I gotta say though, he did kind of stop in the middle of that play for like a brief moment.
You know what? You know who should have stopped in the middle of the play is our freaking quarterback. Just throw the freaking ball away. Jesus.
That sucked because Brown kind of stops for a second and then he realizes the play is still going and he pushes the end down into the turf and Russell just trips on him. That was a really I started to tie knots at that point.
That was a Russell from 3 years ago play. He's gotten those out of his system. Really?
No, I don't think so, because
I don't think he does that anymore. It's pretty rare now.
I think that that was just he just got tripped up on him. The guy was in the dirt. It wasn't like he was running backwards from a guy that was chasing him, which is what he was doing a couple years ago. That one was just I don't know. I don't know where he was going. He really did just need to eventually just throw that ball away. But I think that just kind of sucked too.
So I want to. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, there's one question I have for you guys because I'm perplexed by it. The offensive line plays so well today. They run all over the Vikings. They on the goal line, big holes, run for first down. Third and short. Why can't they convert third and short? There's no confidence that this team can run the ball on third and short. Or is that just me?
It's flipped. Last year, Carson, it felt like he got those every time. And this year, it's been more of a struggle.
At the end of the game.
It's disheartening.
At the end of the game, Jacob Holster had the big block on the one that kind of sealed it. That was pretty surprising. He completely opened the hole.
Yeah, I do want to spend a little bit of time just as we wrap up looking forward to next week. So in case you've been living under a rock, the Seahawks are sitting at ranked number one in the NFC West. The 49ers are currently the number 5 seed if the playoffs began today. The Seahawks would be the number 2 seed because the Saints are also 10-2, but have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Seahawks. So the Saints sit at number 1. This upcoming Sunday, the Saints, as you guys know, play the 49ers. There's been a lot of debate about, as a Seahawks fan, which team do you root for? Do you hope the 49ers win so the Seahawks could take the number 1 seed, or do you root against the 49ers, the rest of the season so the Seahawks absolutely secure that first round bye? Brian, where are you at on this debate?
I'm dying to hear your answer, Evan. Can I turn it around on you?
Absolutely. I'm rooting against the 49ers every single fucking game of the season. And I'll tell you why. The division is the fucking priority. You win the goddamn division and everything else falls into place. It feels like you're jumping 2 steps ahead. Like it's like worry about the things you can sort of control. Like goal number 1 is winning the division. Okay, let's not be greedy here. Let's win the division, get a first round bye, and guess what? If the Seahawks end up as the number 2 seed, I have no problem Russell Wilson playing an NFC championship game in a dome in January in ideal weather conditions. Does that not sound amazing? Because it sounds amazing to me.
Play it out for me for a second, because I actually don't know the answer to this. Maybe you guys do. Let's say that the 49ers lose next week, which sounds great to me. And let's assume the Seahawks win all their games, but they lose to San Francisco the last game of the season.
Okay, keep going.
Where are we in that situation?
So the Seahawks go 3-1.
So the Seahawks would beat the Panthers, they'd beat the Rams, they beat Arizona, but they would lose to the 49ers in the last game of the season. The 49ers would lose to the Saints,
Win all their
but they'd
other
win
games.
the rest of their games.
Yeah, I'm on the playoff machine. I'll tell you in a second.
I was going to say, doesn't it go to divisional record then?
Let me see.
Does it go to point differential between the 2 teams in their games?
I think divisional record is first.
Division record's next.
Give me a second. I'm on the playoff machine.
And the Niners haven't lost to any other divisional opponents.
Says Seattle would win.
And neither of the Seattle would win the division?
Yeah.
Seattle would win the division. So right now, basically, Seattle could afford to drop 1 additional game as long as they win Week 17.
It says based on win percentage in common games would be the tiebreaker.
Wow. Yeah. So I mean, given that, I would go with you, Evan. I would. I mean, plus, I just am always happy when the 49ers lose. But honestly, like, Seahawks win either way. I think they just need to take care of their own shit, one way or another. So
Nathan,
I'll go with you. I'll be cheering for the
Well,
Saints, I guess.
I'm confused. I thought the scenario was the Niners lose the Saints game and then win out, and the Seahawks win out until the Niners game and then lose. Seahawks still get the division in that case, right?
Yes, they'd both be 13.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm rooting for the Niners to lose because that gives the Seahawks wiggle room to still win the division.
Oh, man, how awesome would it be if we can rest our starters Week 17?
Wait, that's what you guys said too, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks with everyone then.
Yeah, I think it's the correct take. Just worry about winning the division, and I truly believe everything will fall into place. But hey, guys, we're wrapping up. Are there any other things you guys wanted to highlight from tonight's game? Big win over the Vikings, 37-30, first place in the NFC West. Any players you wanted to call out? Anybody who performed super well?
Does Baby Yoda get the game ball?
Baby Yoda gets the goddamn game ball. Baby Yoda 3, Joshua Cashman, thank you so much for making that graphic. You are a legend. Thank you for pioneering that entire marketing campaign today. We appreciate
Did you start that, Evan?
Nope, it was all Joshua Cashman, 100% Joshua Cashman. I blame him. the Seahawks should blame him if anything goes awry with that in the future. So it's all
I love
Cashman.
It's so confusing. So confusing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be so funny if everyone on Twitter, like overall, just changed their profile picture to the same thing for a day.
Well, I don't know if you saw, Brian, but like the NFL before the game started had a tweet about Russell Wilson like coming out of the tunnel, and I swear to God, I scrolled my tweet thread down like 6 or 7 scrolls, and it's all Baby Yoda 3s with the same avatar saying MVP or whatever. It was it was a barrage. It was impressive.
It's funny. It's funny.
Shout out to longtime Seahawks Twitter member Arif Hassan. I know he's enjoying the win tonight.
that is top shelf trolling right there, Nathan. I got a couple players to shout out. So I think we've already talked about Carson and Penny, but I think you do have to give Carson credit for what was not an easy game given how much he carried, and he did not fumble today. So that matters. I think you got to call out David Moore. That was a huge catch he had. I don't know how he got that much separation from Xavier Rhodes, but big play in the game, and that's what we used to see from him. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of that. I'm assuming you guys have already called out DK Metcalf. I mean, DK Metcalf could have had a great game if he didn't fumble there. Otherwise, I thought he had played well and had some tough catches. I still don't understand why Josh Gordon is so infrequently involved. When he gets the chance, he seems to be making plays. So it's another guy that I'd call out. And then I thought Shaquem Griffin had another nice game. It wasn't dominant, but they had him running a lot of twists and games coming on the inside, and really affected. I thought he affected Cousins in the second half quite a bit. I think the craziest play of the game wasn't even Russell batting the ball to the Vikings. It was when Kirk Cousins got destroyed and somehow he threw it 20 yards downfield exactly to Kyle Rudolph. I don't know how that. I have no idea how that play happened. But those are just a couple. And Jason Myers. Oh my God, I don't know how. Big game for Jason Myers. He made every kick, every time he kicked, every extra point, every field goal. I was like, just make the kick, goddammit, and he did. So. I think I got to give him kudos.
Haters have been pretty quiet on Jason Myers for a few weeks now, huh?
You're having a good couple weeks with Penny and Myers. I mean, it's no Malik Turner, run, but it's pretty good.
No Rasheem Green.
Is that your guy now, Nathan? Are you taking him under your wing?
I mean, I did call it. I did say that he would be the guy that would break out, that would kind of put this defense over the top. But no, I mean, he's just been good. He's been good. He's coming on.
I like it. I like when you take vested interest in players like that. Did they say what happened with Ziggy Ansah yet? He looked like stinger. That could have been a collarbone or a stinger. Okay, good. Just a stinger.
His arm looked weird as hell, though, when he was coming off the field. It was real dangly.
Well, yeah, when he first went down, he couldn't move his arm. It was clear. And I was like, oh, it's either a collarbone or stinger. So stinger is definitely better.
Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining the show. Everybody that is listening in via YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, we super appreciate you guys tuning in. We will be back on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Pacific time to break down and preview the upcoming game against the Rams. Rams is the next game. Is that correct?
Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football against the Rams in Los Angeles. That is going to be a big, big game, especially considering the 49ers play the Saints on Sunday also. So a couple ways to support the show real quick. Patreon.com/hawkblogger. If you want to support us there, we would be super grateful. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, even share the show with a friend. There's tons of ways to support us and support the content we're pushing out. So we super appreciate you guys. We super appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to our post-game show. With that said, we got a big week coming up against the Rams. A big win tonight. The Seahawks are first in the NFC West after a 37-30 victory over the Vikings. So with that said, everybody, go Hawks, and we will see you guys Wednesday night. Have a good night.